Welcome to another positive cinematic spotlight where we look at movies to help ourselves remain positive in the educational field. My school district's theme for the year is uh, focused on being movie stars, and so it fits thematically with my school district. Um, this week, I wanted to look at the 2017 movie Marshall, starring Chadwick Boseman, uh, because of Boseman's untimely passing due to cancer. I want to discover more of the characters that he has played and the award-winning roles he's taken on, and Marshall certainly fit the bill for this video. Thurgood Marshall himself, there's a lot to be inspired from. His he was a an African American uh, lawyer who defended um, innocent men for the NAACP to be sure that they were getting fair trials, um, and they had the best defense possible. And he won the majority of his trials. He went on to become the first African American justice on the Supreme Court, and he was a prominent figure in the civil rights movement. Now, in the movie Marshall, Chadwick Boseman plays Thurgood Marshall. What I found inspiring there is the relationship between Marshall and Sam Friedman. Sam Friedman was a lawyer in Lafayette, Louisiana, uh, where Joseph Spell was being charged with a violent crime. And the relationship between Marshall and Friedman was a very interesting one. It was certainly not what either one of them expected. Marshall went in as the lawyer for the NAACP, planning to go into the court and defend Joe Spell um, for this crime. But when he got there, the judge said that he didn't have any reason to um, allow Marshall to be a part of the case at all, but in the sense of keeping things fair and just, he would allow Marshall to remain, but he was only allowed in the courtroom if he would remain silent. He was not allowed to directly participate in the case, which meant that he had to defend Joseph Spell through Sam Friedman. Friedman, on the other hand, as shown in the movie, was not interested in being associated with this case at all. He was willing to go in, get Marshall accepted as Spell's lawyer. He was not expecting to be the lead lawyer on this case. Both of these characters in the movie, Marshall and Friedman, give us sources of inspiration for this 2020-2021 school year and how things have changed. As far as Marshall is concerned, Thurgood Marshall is concerned, he went in expecting to be able to have a hands on direct impact on Joseph Spell's case. And while he was able to lead Friedman from behind the scenes, preparing him before the case, when the case was actually in session, Marshall could only sit and watch. As teachers this year, the majority of us are finding ourselves in situations where we have to just sit there and watch as students are navigating their way through our lessons, because the majority of us have some degree of virtual education that we have to provide. Some of us are completely virtual this year, and we will not have a classroom inside of a classroom. So I think I repeated myself. We'll not have a class inside of a classroom where we're teaching them directly. We will at best be recording things like this to be presented for them to see, and in some cases, having Google Meets and Zoom meetings where we are interacting with them live, but still there's a barrier between us and what the students are actually doing. That minimizes our ability to control our students' behavior, um, because, you know, anything could be going on at the house that could be distracting. It also minimizes our ability to keep our students focused. And that's just something that Marshall had to accept, that separation from live action casework and the preparation. He prepared Freeman for it, and then he just had to sit back and watch and hope things went the way he wanted it to do. He did so with patience, he did so with understanding, um, because what was most important for him was to remain a part of the case. If he did not remain patient, then and tried to take over in the courtroom, then he would have gotten himself thrown out. In a similar way, we have to step back and just say there's only so much we can do, and we have to be patient with the people who have to step in and take over for us. Whether it's the students themselves, whether it's the parents helping their students to remain focused, helping them a little bit more with work than they normally do, so on and so forth. Patience, and the patience that Thurgood Marshall shows in the movie Marshall, is something that we can take from that character. As far as Sam Friedman is concerned, as I said, he was not interested in being involved in the case at all. And many of us teachers are not interested in being virtual teachers at all. Virtual education is not brand new this year. We've had uh, distance learning in some format or other. There's virtual schooling, there are virtual classes in some colleges, so on and so forth. These are options that have already existed, and most of us have decided, or I won't say many, I won't say most, many of us have already decided this is what we want. We want to be in the classroom, we want to be face to face with our students. We do not want to teach virtually. But just like Friedman, things, things happen and we got to adjust. It might not be what we want. It might not be what we feel comfortable with. Like Friedman was not comfortable being the lead lawyer in that case, but Friedman stuck with it anyway. He could have said, "No, that's it. I'm done. I tried to get you in on the case. It didn't work. I'm out." But he didn't. He stuck with it. He showed bravery that in the movie, the character showed bravery that he didn't know he had, and he was able to learn and grow as a lawyer in taking on that role. And in a similar way, we have to do the same. We have to learn, we have to grow, we have to accept that this is something that we have to do and we are expected to do. So between Marshall and Friedman from the movie Marshall, from Thurgood Marshall and Sam Friedman, we can learn that we need to remain patient with ourselves, patient with our students, patient with our students' parents, and we have to um, grow. We have to learn how to adapt to this new situation. One scene in Marshall had Friedman make a mistake because of things happening. I'm not going to spoil anything, but things happened, and Marshall was not in the courtroom at that time, and Friedman made a mistake. Friedman did not give up. Marshall did not berate Friedman for that mistake. A mistake was made. They discussed why it was a mistake. It's a learning moment, and then they moved on. They both pressed forward. Mistakes are going to be made. Remain patient with yourself. Expect your students to grow and learn. That's why there are students. We already expect that. Expect yourself to grow and learn. Patience for yourself, patience for your parents, patience for your students. Expect yourself and your students to grow and learn. That's what we can get from Marshall. I want to thank all teachers for being their best and for doing what you do. Goodbye.